My boss looked me dead in the eyes in front of 50 people and said, "Clear your desk." And then he smiled. He actually smiled, like it was easy, like I was nothing. What he didn't know, what he couldn't have predicted in a million years, was that 4 months later, I would be signing the papers that made me the owner of the company he thought he built. This is that story. My name is Naomi, and before I tell you what happened, I need you to understand the kind of woman I was before that Tuesday morning changed everything. I was not loud. I was not demanding. I was not the woman who made scenes or sent strongly worded emails or complained to HR. I was the woman who stayed 2 hours after everyone else had already gone home. The woman who fixed other people's mistakes without mentioning it. The woman who smiled at the right moments and kept her opinions just close enough to her chest that no one ever felt threatened by how much she actually knew. I had learned early that being a woman in a corporate room means you are always performing a very specific balancing act. Be competent enough to be useful, but never so competent that the wrong person feels uncomfortable. I had mastered that balance, and it cost me more than I ever admitted to myself. I grew up the oldest of 3 girls in a house where my mother did everything and got credit for nothing. She cooked, cleaned, managed the finances, held my father's professional life together behind the scenes, and spent 30 years being called supportive, when the word she deserved was essential. I watched her pour herself into that house and that marriage, and I made myself a quiet promise when I was about 15 years old. I promised that my name would be on something, that whatever I built, it would have my fingerprints on it and my name attached to it out loud where people could see. So I worked. Through university, through the part-time jobs, through the years of being the only woman in certain rooms who seemed to have read the documents before the meeting, I graduated near the top of my class, moved to the city with a small savings account and a very large amount of determination, and spent 8 months applying before I finally landed a position at Hargrove & Klein, a commercial real estate consulting firm. Not glamorous, not my dream, but a door. And I have always known what to do with a door. For 3 years, I gave that company everything. I came in early and left late. I learned the analytics software before the IT team had finished setting it up. I built client relationships from scratch, the slow and careful way, remembering details about people's children and business concerns and long-term goals. Within 2 years, I was promoted to senior associate, which for a woman in that firm essentially meant you were doing the work of a director and being paid like a mid-level employee. And everyone knew it, and no one said anything. And then there was Marcus Hargrove Jr., the boss's son. He had his father's name on the door and his father's confidence in his posture, and almost none of his father's actual capability. He was charming, in the way that men who have never been told no learn to be charming. It was less personality and more armor. He wore expensive things and said expensive-sounding words in meetings and had an extraordinary talent for walking into a room right after someone else had done all the work and leaving as the most memorable person in it. From nearly the beginning, I felt it, that particular chill. The way he would look past me when I was speaking to address whatever I had just said, but to someone else, as if the idea needed a different messenger to be valid. The way he would assign me the most complex deliverables and then present the results as a team effort, where the team was somehow only him. The way he once said to me in a voice that was almost kind, "Naomi, you're so talented, you just need to learn how to be a little less intense." I smiled. I said, "Thank you." And I went back to my desk and I did 6 more hours of work because that is what I had always done. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself to stay patient. My mother's voice in my head always, "Naomi, the woman who keeps going is the woman who wins." I kept going. I should have understood sooner what keeping going was actually costing me. The Morrison contract was the biggest opportunity Hargrove & Klein had chased in years. A $40 million commercial development deal. The kind of project that if you landed it, your name got attached to it permanently. It became your legacy inside the firm. And for 3 weekends in a row, 6 of my personal days, my Saturday mornings, my Sunday evenings, I built that proposal from nothing. the occupancy strategy, the risk model, the financial forecasting, the client retention framework. I wrote it, revised it, restructured it, and polished it until it was the best work I had ever produced. I emailed the final version to Marcus on a Friday evening. He replied with 3 words. "Nice work, Naomi." That was all. The following Tuesday, I walked into the office and immediately felt that specific electricity in the air, the kind that means the building knows something you don't. My closest friend at work, a woman named Kezia, appeared at my side almost the moment I stepped off the elevator. She was walking fast and talking low. "Marcus called a full staff meeting, 9 o'clock. It's about the Morrison deal." I looked at her, she looked at me, and I felt something drop very slowly in my stomach. "That's my project, Kez." She nodded. "I know." I sat at my desk, I straightened my things, I took 3 slow breaths. I reminded myself that I was a professional, and professionals handle things with dignity. I told myself it would be fine. At 9 o'clock, 53 employees packed into the main conference room. Marcus stood at the front, radiant with the particular glow of a man who is about to take credit for something. He announced the Morrison deal. The room applauded. He thanked his incredible leadership team. He thanked Grant, a senior partner who, to my knowledge, had not contributed a single original thought to the proposal. He held up a framed copy of the document I had written, and he talked about it like it was his masterpiece. Not my name, not one reference, not a single acknowledgement that the woman who had given up 3 weekends of her life, who had been at her laptop at midnight, who had restructured the risk model 4 times until it was airtight, that she even existed. I sat very still. I was aware of Kezia 2 seats away, not looking at me, because she knew if she looked at me, she would do something. I was aware of the fluorescent lights and the sound of applause and the weight of every single moment I stayed late and said yes and smiled and made myself smaller so that men like Marcus could feel larger. And then I raised my hand. The applause stopped. 53 faces turned. "Marcus," my voice was level, completely level. I had not planned this, but my body had. "I want to make sure the record is accurate. The strategic framework in that proposal, the occupancy model, the risk projections, the 5-year forecast, I built all of that. I have the drafts, the version history, every time-stamped email. I'm not trying to make this difficult. I just think accurate attribution matters." Complete silence, the kind that has weight. Marcus set the framed proposal down on the table slowly, the way you set something down when you want your hands free. When he turned to look at me, every trace of the polished, charming version of him was gone. What was left was something much smaller and much colder. "Naomi," he said, with that particular brand of calm that is really just controlled cruelty, "I think this is a good time for HR to walk you through your employment contract, specifically the intellectual property clause." He let that sit for exactly the right amount of time. And honestly, given what I've been observing about your attitude lately, I think we need to part ways. Today. Effective immediately. He glanced at HR without looking away from me. "Please process her termination and escort her out." 53 people. Every single one of them watching me. I stood up. I picked up my notebook. I smoothed the front of my blazer, a deep burgundy blazer I had bought 3 years ago when I got this job, when I thought it was the beginning of something good. I thought about my mother, pouring herself into things that never put her name on anything in return. I thought about the promise I made to myself at 15. I thought about what it costs to be a woman who keeps going in rooms that keep trying to make her invisible. And I walked out, head up, shoulders back. Not one tear until I was safely in the elevator with the doors closed. That walk is where my real life began. The months after that were the kind of hard that doesn't announce itself. It just sits on your chest every morning and waits to see if you'll get up anyway. I applied for positions and came close and fell through. I moved to a smaller apartment and learned how many different ways you can cook lentils when you're managing a budget carefully. I called my mother more than I had in years and let her talk without telling her how scared I actually was, because she had carried enough. Kezia checked in every few days, and quietly, carefully, at real risk to her own position, she began sending me things: emails, document version histories, meeting notes, a paper trail of what was actually mine. "You did that work, Naomi," she said one night. "Don't let him rewrite it." There were hard nights. I won't pretend there weren't. Nights when I sat in that apartment and thought about my mother and wondered if the promise I made to myself at 15 was just a girl's dream dressed up as a plan. Nights when the rejection emails stacked up and the silence from former colleagues got loud. Nights when I cried, really cried, and then washed my face and opened my laptop because the bills were still real even when the hope was thin. But here is what I also knew, somewhere underneath all of it. I knew the work was real. I had built something real, and real things leave marks, and marks have a way of being found by the right people. James Morrison, the client, the man whose $40 million deal Marcus held up like a trophy, had been paying closer attention than anyone realized. Over months of correspondence with the firm, he had noticed a pattern. The quality of the detailed analytical work, the precision, the insight, the depth, always corresponded with documents that had my name in the metadata. He had assumed I was a senior partner. When the deal closed and he asked about the team behind it, he was told I was no longer with the firm. He asked why. The answer was deliberately vague. Morrison pulled the contract, all $40 million. Gone, because the person who actually built the work was no longer there to deliver on it. And then he started making calls. 4 months after the cardboard box, on a Thursday morning, I was sitting at my kitchen table with a cup of tea when an email arrived from a law firm I had never heard of. Subject line: confidential business opportunity, N. Clark. I stared at it for a full minute. Then I opened it. James Morrison wanted to meet. I read it 3 times. I put my phone face down on the table. I picked it up and read it again. He was proposing a new firm. Real estate consulting built correctly this time. Talent at the center, integrity in the structure, the right name on the right work. He had the capital and the connections. He needed someone who could build what needed to be built and lead what needed to be led. He had one person in mind. I called Kezia. She was quiet for exactly 2 seconds. Then she said, "Naomi, if you say no, I will never forgive you." I wore the burgundy blazer to the meeting. I had steamed it the night before. My hands were steady in a way they hadn't been in a long time. James Morrison was in his 70s, unhurried, sharp-eyed, the kind of person whose stillness is not emptiness, but depth. He slid a folder across the table, a business structure, equity terms, a company name. I read every single page. Then I looked up. "Why me?" I asked, because I genuinely needed to hear it said out loud. He held my gaze. "Because every room has people in it who know the truth and decide it's not worth the cost of saying it. You decided differently. In front of 50 people with your job on the line, you told the truth. I've been in business for 40 years, and I can count on one hand the number of people I've watched do that." He paused. "And honestly, given what I've been observing about your attitude lately, I think we need to part ways. Today. Effective immediately." He glanced at HR without looking away from me. "Please process her termination and escort her out." The elevator. I need to tell you about the elevator. 8 months after we opened, 3 major deals closed, our firm being mentioned in the right rooms, my name attached to my own work for the first time in my professional life, I stepped into the elevator of our building on a Wednesday afternoon. The doors opened at the ground floor, and Marcus Hargrove walked in. He didn't see me at first. He was on his phone, doing that thing powerful men do where they treat every space they enter as though it was already expecting them. Then he looked up. I watched it all move across his face, the recognition, the confusion, the recalibration, and then something I had genuinely never seen on him before, something that looked a great deal like being caught. "Naomi," he said. "Marcus," I said. The elevator moved upward. He looked at the floor numbers, then at me. "I heard you started a firm." "I did." "How's it going?" I thought about 53 people watching me stand up. I thought about the burgundy blazer and the elevator and the one tear I let myself have before I pulled it back together. I thought about lentils and late nights and Kezia's emails and my mother's voice and the promise I made to a 15-year-old girl who deserved to have it kept. "It's going very well," I said. The doors opened. I stepped out. I didn't look back, not out of anger, not to make a point, simply because there was nothing behind me worth the turn. People ask me if I'm angry at him. The honest answer is, I was. For a long time, in a very specific, very female way that women will understand, I was angry at how unsurprised I had been. Angry that some part of me had seen it coming and still talked myself out of believing it. Angry at how many times I had made myself smaller in that office to make someone else more comfortable in their mediocrity. But I'll tell you what I'm not anymore. I'm not invisible. I'm not uncredited. I'm not the woman in the room who does the work while someone else holds up the frame. My mother visited the office a few months after we opened. She walked through it slowly, the way she used to walk through my school on Parents' Evening. Carefully, proudly, touching things gently like she wanted to feel that they were real. She stopped at the door and looked at the sign, my name, on the door. She stood there for a long time without saying anything. When she turned around, her eyes were full and her chin was up, and she looked at me like I was everything she had ever worked toward, long before I was old enough to understand that she had been working toward me. She didn't say a word. She didn't have to. Some things are so much louder than words. If you're listening to this and you are a woman who has been in that room, the room where you did the work and someone else took the bow, I need you to hear this. Being overlooked is not evidence that you are not exceptional. It is evidence that the person overlooking you is afraid of exactly how exceptional you are. The women who get silenced in those rooms are never the ones who had nothing to say. They are always the ones whose voices would have changed everything. Your name belongs on your work. Your work is real. Your effort is real. And somewhere out there, the right person is already looking at what you built and asking, who made this? Keep going. Keep your head up. Smooth your blazer. And when those elevator doors open, step out like you own the floor. Because one day, you will.